All right there, everybody. Hey, happy Friday and welcome back here. My name is TJ and I am the Chief Cleaning Officer here at Meticulous Man Services. And we get together every Friday at this point and chat a little bit, kind of share some information. Hopefully, it's educational, maybe a little bit of entertaining, and hopefully, always informative. So, hopefully, you guys have had a wonderful week. The weather has been amazing. I'm enjoying it. And hopefully, in spite of all the stay-at-home orders that are out there, that you are actually able to get out and enjoy this beautiful weather that we are, at least us here in Idaho, in Napa, Idaho, are specifically enjoying. So hope you're able to do that too. Just wanted to go ahead again, like I said, get out here and chat with you folks. If you can let us know what you think about these, I'd love that. Go ahead and leave your comments, rude remarks, whatever you want. Go ahead and put them down there in the comment section, and I'll be happy to read them. And I know that kind of just sounded weird because at least it did to me. It sounded like I went over the top of my own words. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this because I know that there's so much going on with what's going on in the world, and there's such a huge conversation around cleaning, disinfecting, and making sure that we are inactivating viruses and such because that just makes me also think about is that there's a lot of words that we say about killing viruses, but technically viruses are not actually living things, so we really wouldn't call that killing them. It is actually deactivating them. So sometimes I think what happens is we start throwing these words around, and while we mean well, and myself included, I've done it before as well, but there is some nuances to things, and I always want to make sure that I point those out. But I started off, and hopefully, let me go over and check. It should be saying that we're talking about, can your home be too clean? Yes, it does show that. That's awesome. Probably shouldn't make sure I play that at the same time, otherwise we're going to have feedback. So, so let's not do that. Train of thought just went out the door. So anyway, I wanted to come back here and talk to you a little bit about, can your home be too clean? And, I totally get that with the concern, and not only right now, but viruses and germs in general, there's, sicknesses that we don't want to have come in our home, or we don't want to end up somehow inadvertently getting them ourselves or passing them on to, someone else, either our loved ones or people out in public. So I totally get that concern. But when it comes inside our homes and when we're looking at all these things is, how clean is clean? Do we need to be living in a world that's sterile, where we've completely eliminated any possible bacteria or virus? The short answer, no, we don't. You don't want to live in a sterile world. And there's lots of research and studies and things out there that you can look up and find out about how having a completely eliminated environment of any viruses, bacteria, or anything like that, that it's actually worse for us. Because the truth is, there's actually a lot of beneficial bacteria that we have we're always covered in bacteria or some kind of form of germ. And it's really, in and of itself, it's not a bad thing. It depends on how it interacts with us. Some are really good and we need those. We've got bacteria within our gut lining that if we don't have that, it causes a lot of health issues. And they're finding out that there's some in agricultural and other medicine research that they're finding that there's viruses that are actually beneficial for helping that out. So we don't want to kill them all. So really, what it comes down to is what we want to make sure is we're eliminating as much of the germs as possible within a home to make it safe. Your job and my job, and anybody who's cleaning their home or having their home cleaned by a professional cleaning service, I mean, really, the whole thing is it's not our job to make sure we remove every single germ possible. It's our jobs to make sure that within our homes that we are reducing those numbers down to a safe level. I could be saying this wrong, but with considering viruses, and I don't know the exact numbers here, but an individual virus, I believe, is called a viron. I could be totally mispronouncing that. But the idea is that one molecule of a virus is not enough that I'm aware of always research, always back check me, because sometimes I may have the wrong information, but I always want to make sure I'm researching and learning. So if somebody says, hey, TJ, you're completely wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, go ahead and leave that down in the comments, because I'd love to learn. That's always important to me. But for this point of the conversation, a virion is one molecule, we'll say, of a virus. And just having one is not going to get you infected, or you're not going to get that, because like a lot of things, there needs to be so many of them that it creates a tipping point where the growth is exponential to the point of you actually catch the disease or whatever it is. So the point being here is that if they're under a certain number, if we reduce that down to a safe level, then even if you get it, if you're in it now, obviously, if you happen to have immune compromised systems or there's other health complications that you got going on, the numbers are going to be different for you. But on the average, an average healthy person, if we reduce the number of bacteria or viruses, the germs there, you're not going to get sick by touching them or even consuming them in some fashion. So really, we just need to make sure that we're removing enough of these germs that we make a safe, healthy environment. Call it, being hygienic, making sure we get that down there. And, sometimes then that means that instead of disinfecting, which, everybody's talking about this disinfecting, completely kill the virus, sometimes just simply sanitizing, reducing it down to that safe level is really what we need. So just kind of, think about that as we're going through, because you can actually have your home where it's so clean that you're not getting the benefit of those germs that are out there. This kind of makes me think about, I watched, I just touched my face. Okay. I know, don't do that, but I'm not going to lick my hands right now. At least I might. Okay, no, we're not. But, oh, wow. My brain just jumps around. So anyway, what I was going to say here after I touched my face was I just recently watched last night a video. You guys ought to look it up. It's by Weird Al Yankovic, and it's called Germs. It's hilarious. So I just encourage you, if you want to laugh this weekend, go ahead and check that out. So as we're talking back around, the idea of can your home be too clean? When you are cleaning and you're making sure that you're taking those germs down to a safe level, make sure you're looking at the back of the products that you're using, making sure you're reading the labels, knowing exactly what it works for, what it doesn't, verifying if it does anything to do with what you're wanting it to do, because not all disinfectants, sanitizers are good for all germs. So always make sure you know what you're looking at. The other thing is there's an acronym that we talk about in the cleaning industry, and it's called CHAT. And what that is, when we're trying to make sure we're taking things down to a safe level, is we're looking at the chemical that we use, like I just mentioned. We're looking at heat, and we're looking at agitation, and we're looking at time. So chemical, like we talked about at the beginning with, making sure you've got the right chemical for the right job. Heat is, I've done a lot in automotive. I've worked on vehicles far back as I can remember, and there's this term called viscosity, and it means the ability for a liquid to flow freely. So the more viscous your oil is, say, the easier it is for it to flow. The lower the viscosity number, the thicker it gets, and it's like, the difference between having, water pour, which is really extremely viscous, or having like, your honey. Or remember the old ketchup commercials, Heinz, where they show you the bottle and it's just like, so good to wait kind of thing. So that's the difference in those two. So how does heat apply to that? Heat makes things more viscous. It gets the molecules moving. They get really excited. And so when you're doing stuff, it moves easier. It's one of the reasons I always tell my kids, you don't be washing your hands with cold water. Wash them with hot water, or at least warm water, because it allows the soap to move freely on your hands. And then also when you go to rinse it rinses off a lot easier. So you want to make sure you're using heat. Sometimes just simply using hot water when you're cleaning can go a long way to removing a lot of stuff, and you don't need as much chemical, or you don't need as much agitation, and sometimes it'll also save you time. And obviously when we talk about agitation, that's not, grabbing your family members and shaking them. That's not what we're talking about. It's about making sure that, when you're like scrubbing, that's really all it is. Some things are going to require more agitation to get them off, depending on the chemical you use, the amount of heat. All these things come into play, and that all affects that last one, time. And really, let's face it, we want to be able to make sure that we're doing all the stuff, making sure we're reducing the number of the germs in our homes down to a safe level in an efficient and timely manner, because time is all we got. Once it's gone, it's bye, 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 and we're not talking about, NSYNC or Backstreet Boys stuff. I'm dating myself here. But the other thing you want to make sure you're doing as you're trying to make sure you're cleaning and you're getting it to that safe level is you want to make sure you're using the right tools. And a lot of people, still talk about using the cloth, not cloth, but the regular cotton cloths. And those are definitely, they have a purpose. And I would encourage you to make sure you have them in your toolbox. But when it comes to making sure we're reducing the number of germs on our surface, that we need to make sure that we're using the right tool, and the cloth, regular cotton cloth, because the fibers are so large, those are really good for getting that visible surface stuff. But when we're talking about germs, this is a tiny microscopic microorganism. There we go. And those things don't really move them or pick them up. They kind of move them around. So what I want to show you here is a really good thing to have is make sure you get some good quality microfiber cloths. And the reason that these are really important, and I really highly recommend, is what we use in our stuff, is that the process by which they make these is they do, I believe it's a heat type process. And when they do that, it causes the fibers to explode. So you take a really fiber is about yay big, and you break it up, and it's like getting your hair all frizzed up, and it creates a lot of touch points on there, so that the tinier objects, such as the microorganisms, you're actually grabbing them as you go, so that when you're using this and you're wiping something, it's kind of hard to do that in the air, So anyway, when you're doing that, you're actually picking them up, and then you can flip it over, and it holds them in there so that you can remove them to, wherever your laundry is. We encourage you to make sure you get a really good laundry bag, preferably something that's waterproof, especially if you're going to be putting stuff in there that's liquidy. But it allows you to get that out of your home and put it in the wash machine. And again, we come back to the chat thing, the acronym there. Heat is a really good way to destroy a ton of bacteria and viruses and all that nasty junk that you want to make sure that you're getting that out of your home. And if you wash it in your washer, I don't know why, I just felt like that was kind of redundant. Anyway, so we're back. So what I want to say is that if you put it in your washer and you use it on high at the heat, and you get a really good detergent in there, between the chemical and the heat, you're going to destroy those viruses and bacteria. The viruses, most of them, a lot of them have a fatty exterior. So when you use them in the washer, just like when you're washing your hands, and getting that agitation going, that soap and that heat, you're able to rinse them off, and they're good. They've been broken down. It's like, the oil, when you put it in, something that can break up oil, and you see it kind of spreading out in your pan. That's kind of what I was thinking about, is how that works. But the point being is you're going to destroy it and you're going to get it out. But I just don't want you, as you're going through this time or any time in the future, not to be freaked out, I guess would be the thing I don't want people doing. There's certain areas in your home that you definitely want to make sure you're getting a higher number, and when it's possible, go ahead and disinfect. Those would be your areas, your horizontal areas that are high traffic, high touch. So like your counters in your kitchen, or maybe your counters in your bathroom and your toilet, just places that you touch a lot with those germs. I want to make sure you're getting those. But when it comes to like your light switches and everything, if you are cleaning them properly first, because you always want to make sure you're cleaning first, then you're either sanitizing or disinfecting. But if you're cleaning them properly, your handles, your light switches, any of those like vertical things, and then you come back through and you use a fresh, clean cloth, and you use your sanitizer or disinfectant and you wipe that, those usually it's going to stay wet long enough to get the sanitizing part, which is reducing again that number of the germs down to a safe level, and you're going to be okay. And I hope that's helpful. Again, just want to make sure that you understand that our goal is never to make a sterile environment. There's times and places where sterilization is very important, like on an operating table, and you want to make sure that the tools of the doctors you're using have been sterilized. You don't want any living organism on there. But in our homes, there's some benefit to having some of these things in our homes. And so being overly, I don't want to say cautious, but overly consumed about getting rid of all of them can, one, lead to more health complications if you start removing a lot of the stuff that's really good for you. And two, it just eats up your time and gives you, I don't know, just doesn't leave you feeling good. Not sure what exactly how I want to put that, but it stresses you out. That's what I was thinking. It stresses you out, and that this is not a fun time to be stressed out, nor is any time. If you know of a time, please leave that in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you think is a good time to be stressed out. But with that said, hey, again, we just come on here on Fridays and try to help to educate you and inform you, and hopefully be a little bit of entertaining, just my quirkiness. But if you've got any subject matter, anything you would like me to talk about, I'd love to hear from you. I'm always excited to get the comments that people leave. And even if you want to reach out and email me, you're more than welcome to do that. You can reach me at tj@meticulousmanservices.com. That's all spelled out as one word. I'd love to hear from you. But if you got anything, please go ahead and leave it there. I'd love to hear it. And until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I think we're going to go ahead and try to do use our fire pit and enjoy this beautiful weather. Maybe even do some barbecuing outside, make some hamburgers or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But you guys take care, and we will see you back here next week. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, and clean less and live more.